Most people think they're broke because they don't earn enough. That's not what's actually happening. The real reason smart, hardworking people stay broke at every single income level has almost nothing to do with their paycheck. It's a wiring problem in the brain, one that quietly resets itself every time you get a raise. And if you've ever gotten a promotion, felt amazing for about 3 weeks, and then somehow ended up just as stressed about money as before, you're not imagining it. This isn't a willpower problem. It isn't a budgeting problem. It's a baseline problem. And once you see it, you will never unsee it in your own life. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you the actual research behind why earning more rarely fixes broke, the strange thing that happens even to people who win the lottery, and what the rare people who escape this trap understand that almost nobody else does. In 2010, two researchers at Princeton University, Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize winner, and economist Angus Deaton, studied the emotional well-being of about 450,000 Americans. They found that day-to-day happiness kept rising with income, but only up to around $75,000 a year. Past that point, more income barely moved the needle on how people actually felt minute to minute. $75,000. Now compare that to a man named Ronald Reed. Ronald worked as a gas station attendant and a janitor in Brattleboro, Vermont. He drove an old car. He split his own firewood. Nobody in town thought of him as wealthy. When he died in 2014, the whole country found out he had quietly built an investment portfolio worth almost $8 million. A janitor with $8 million? Meanwhile, plenty of people earning 10 times Ronald's salary are one missed paycheck away from panic. And it's not just regular earners who fall into this. Sports Illustrated published a widely cited investigation in 2009 that found 78% of former NFL players faced serious financial distress or bankruptcy within just 2 years of retirement. Many of them had earned tens of millions of dollars over their careers. Tens of millions of dollars. Gone. Often within a couple of years of the paycheck stopping. So what's the actual difference between Ronald Reed and a guy who earned $50 million and ended up broke? It's not income. It's something psychologists call hedonic adaptation, and you felt it without knowing the name for it. Here's how it works. You get a raise. For a few weeks, you feel rich. Then your brain quietly resets what normal feels like, and that new salary becomes the new baseline. The nicer apartment, the better car, the slightly upgraded everything, it stops feeling like luxury almost immediately. It just starts feeling like life. Think of it like a treadmill. You're moving, working harder, earning more, but the scenery never changes because the treadmill speeds up to match you. This isn't just a casual metaphor. Psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell coined the actual term hedonic treadmill back in 1971 after a now famous study comparing lottery winners to people who had survived major accidents. What they found should stop you in your tracks. Within about a year, lottery winners were not measurably happier in their day-to-day lives than the accident victims in the same study. Both groups had drifted back toward whatever their personal baseline was before the life-changing event ever happened. A sudden windfall didn't move the needle for long. Neither did sudden hardship. The baseline always wins. That's why a $40,000 raise can vanish within a year, and you can't even point to where it went. Picture two people. One earns $50,000 a year. The other earns $200,000. On paper, the second person should feel financially untouchable. Often they don't. Because the moment that bigger paycheck landed, their rent went up, their car got nicer, their vacations got fancier, and their friend group quietly shifted to people spending at that same new level. Their bank balance grew. Their sense of security didn't move an inch. That's the trap, and it doesn't care what tax bracket you're in. This isn't just a feeling. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has tracked household spending for decades through its Consumer Expenditure Survey, and it shows the same pattern every single year. As income rises, spending on housing, vehicles, and dining out rises in almost the same proportion, household after household, across the entire income spectrum. Here's the part that changes everything. It's not that high earners are spending recklessly on watches and vacations. Most of it is invisible. A slightly bigger apartment, a slightly nicer car lease, eating out a little more, a little nicer. None of these decisions feel big in the moment. There's actually a name for the chain reaction too. Consumer researcher Grant McCracken described it as the Diderot effect, named after the 18th century philosopher Denis Diderot, who once wrote about receiving a beautiful new robe as a gift and how it instantly made his entire old apartment look shabby by comparison. So he replaced the chair, then the desk, then the wall hangings. Piece by piece, one nice new thing talked him into an entirely more expensive life. One new thing makes everything around it look outdated. So you upgrade that too, and that, until the entire backdrop of your life has quietly inflated to match your income. And none of it ever felt like a single decision you made on purpose. Morgan Housel makes a related point in his book, The Psychology of Money, that real wealth is mostly invisible, sitting quietly in an account somewhere, not displayed on anyone's body or driveway. Researchers Thomas Stanley and William Danko found almost the exact same thing decades earlier, when they spent years surveying actual millionaires for what became the book, The Millionaire Next Door. What they found surprised even them. Most of the wealthiest people in their data were not doctors or lawyers living in upscale neighborhoods. They were often ordinary small business owners living in modest homes, driving used trucks, completely invisible to anyone judging wealth by appearances. Meanwhile, plenty of high-income professionals earning well into six figures had almost nothing saved, because their entire paycheck was already spoken for by the lifestyle their income was supposed to support. Stanley and Danko actually had names for these two groups: prodigious accumulators of wealth and under-accumulators of wealth. Same income bracket, same diplomas sometimes. Completely different financial reality, and the difference had nothing to do with how much either one of them earned. Most people are unconsciously optimizing their life to look successful at the exact income level they're sitting at right now, instead of staying one income level behind it. Ronald Reed never upgraded his life to match what he could technically afford. That gap between what he earned and what he actually spent is the entire reason he died a multi-millionaire nobody saw coming. So if you've ever felt confused about where your last raise went, stop blaming a coffee habit or a streaming subscription. The math was never really the problem. Your baseline moved the second your income did, automatically, quietly, without ever asking your permission. Think about your own last raise for a second. Maybe it was a few $1,000s. Maybe it was a lot more. Try to remember exactly where it went. For most people, there's no single answer, no big purchase to point to. It's never one decision. It's the rent that crept up when you moved somewhere a little nicer. It's the car payment that quietly got bigger. It's the dinners out that went from twice a month to twice a week, each one feeling completely reasonable on its own. None of it felt like overspending in the moment. That's exactly the point. It was never supposed to feel like a decision at all. The fix isn't earning more. People chase that for decades and stay on the exact same treadmill, just running faster and getting nowhere. The real fix is noticing the gap on purpose. Deciding every single time your income jumps to let your lifestyle lag a little behind it, instead of letting it sprint ahead and eat the difference before you even notice it's gone. That one decision is the entire difference between Ronald Reed and the version of him that never existed. The one who, the moment his investment started paying off, traded the old car for a new one and started eating out 3 nights a week. That version dies with nothing unusual to report. The real one quietly became a legend in a town that had no idea who he was. You will never feel rich by matching your spending to your income. You'll feel rich the day you let your income outrun your spending, and just leave it there.